Now, Lottie and I have been having the last few days some old-style internet fun by sending messages on his Twitter or X to the sort of far right.
Well, I mean, he started the alt-right website.
He literally started the alt-right website. Yeah, Jason Jorjani. And he's just...
I mean, he's supposedly a philosopher, but I'm a little bit... As a person who studied philosophy at uni for quite a few years until Theresa May shut down the department...
Yeah. I expect him...
I'm a little bit... I don't really think he's doing philosophy very well.
But according to him, he's the only current philosopher. Jason Jorjani...
He also...
He's really into free speech, right? But I have to tell you now on the radio, Jason Jorjani just blocked me. And I'm very happy to say this. This is fun. It's like the old days. But Jason Jorjani ultimately, after a few days of me calling him silly names and so on, because these people are fascists, so there's power in satire. And basically, Lottie realised that Jason Jorjani is Space Margaret Thatcher. Because basically what he is proposing is interstellar Thatcherism.
Well, it's not that it's that he thinks that there is interstellar Thatcherism.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this. It's sort of. I mean.
So Jason Jorjani, he's a great new enemy for me. And for Lottie, a great nemesis. This guy is literally Space Margaret Thatcher. Look him up. He even looks like Margaret Thatcher.
He hasn't blocked me.
He hasn't blocked you.
No, but I wasn't. Talking about low fruit.
Yeah.
Much, but I did a bit. But my point about it is, it's not just sort of.
But you know what did it? The reason he blocked me wasn't any of the words, it was the image I made him of Margaret Thatcher with his face in deep space. He didn't like that.
No.
And that's what made him block him, because now, Jason Jorjani, you might be tuned in because we're going to put your name on this poster.
I've got real beef with this guy.
Jason Jorjani, forever now. You are never, ever, ever not going to be able to see yourself as Space Margaret Thatcher, which is what you are.
Right, but as a good space Catholic, I've just got to say, I mean, I think that it's a good idea that we're looking at space and that's the next sort of, we've been through the Romantic era, come out of the woods, destroyed the woods, and all of that sort of fear of the woods is gone. So the fear now is we look up towards space, don't we? And there's fear of aliens for some reason. I don't know why you're not more afraid of humans, but whatever. Yeah. So I think it's a good idea for people to be thinking about this stuff, because sooner or later we're gonna probably have a conversation with. They've found traces of life on Mars, so we should be thinking about this stuff. But I don't think we should be trying to sort of project human kind of. I mean, this guy bangs on about teleology.
He loves saying that, and the other one, epistemology.
He seems to think that sort of it's teleologically inevitable that every single person in the universe will be
into Margaret Thatcher,
into neoliberalism, which I think is kind of an unhealthy attitude. And I think that we should. I don't know what's happened to this speculative science fiction thing that we had in the 70s, where people like Asimov imagined new worlds.
Yeah.
This seems to be mostly imagining new worlds, but they all run according to sort of corporate fascistic principles.
Yeah.
Which I think
the universe is a big office
considering
complex.
This guy is talking about the infinite void, and he hasn't actually ever had a conversation with anyone from off of this planet. I don't really know I don't understand how he's come to this conclusion about all of the sort of bureaucratic procedures.
Yeah, he also thinks...
It's not a healthy mentality.
Jorjani also thinks we're living in a computer simulation. He's one of these people. And basically, I will just always say the same thing to the people who say we live in a computer simulation, which is that the medieval world believed the universe was clockwork, The reason they believed the universe was clockwork was that was as far as their technology had advanced. And your technological development shapes the way you see things. And the medieval world was utterly barking up the wrong tree in thinking that the universe was a clockwork mechanism in the same way we are barking, well, not we, but some humans like Jason Jorjani are barking entirely up the wrong tree.
I mean, I think
he's outspoken as a Zionist. He supports the mass genocide of Palestinian people. And he just, he's one of these, guys who goes on the internet and does interviews where he goes, epistemological, phenomenological,
No, he doesn't talk about phenomenology much.
Okay,
Although he does talk about Hegel.
I don't talk about any of that. I don't even know what epistemological means.
I think that for humans to go through this new sort of space era where we're talking about sort of, I don't know, they want to mine everything, don't know what they're going to be able to, but whatever, we turn our attention to the infinite void. I think approaching the infinite void and saying that you're going to potentially shoot anything that comes from it is maybe not such a great approach to obvious society, you know? I think that kind of, even if, we never, I'm biased because I've seen a 30-foot triangle parked in the sky and there was a 7/8 foot hooded praying mantis guy in my room, but I'm biased because I have seen what I've seen. Whether or not you believe me, I really don't care. No one believes me about things like being able to play the piano or the fact that most of the jobs that I do, no one believes me about any of that either. So I really, to this point, nobody takes me seriously about anything. So it really doesn't matter. But that's not the point. The point is.
That's okay. I don't mind being slapped.
I'm sorry.
I like to be slapped.
The point.
Slap me about.
That I was trying to make. What was the point? I'm biased towards the idea that people off of the planet that aren't human would probably be much more reasonable than humans. My evidence for that is observing all the other species on this planet and observing that they're far more reasonable than humans. So therefore, I can see that humans are the anomaly in terms of reasonableness, and I would think that everybody off planet is probably, there's a similar statistical thing going on there as well. I don't think it's an inevitability that throughout the entire universe, psychopathy and burning all of the burning the.
I think it's possible that psychopathy is a purely human trait, as is that. Yeah.
I would say that it probably is not a universal. No. I would say that maybe that's an anomaly, psychopathy, because as you can see from all the other species on this planet, they will manage to not do that. So.
Yeah. And Jason.
So I don't think it's healthy. It's a healthy attitude.
Jason Jorjani is propagating these kind of ideas and calling himself a philosopher, or possibly the only philosopher,
really
and is proposing that
that he's better than Kierkegaard.
Yeah.
Kierkegaard, and this is,
And he says Immanuel Kant as Immanuel Kant. And I've got to tell you, Jorjani, Immanuel can.
Yeah,
he actually can. He could.
He did.
He could and he did.
Whereas you...
And you don't, Jorjani. I'm greatly vexed by your ideas and greatly entertained. It's wonderful because I like to have people in culture who I like to watch getting angry and upset. And when it's funny, it's basically when pompous people get angry, people with very thin skin and very large egos. Really? And goodness gracious, Jorjani. Jorjani stated on the internet that he's okay with being, or he's not as offended being called a Nazi as he is being called a traditionalist. And well, Mr. Jorjani, let me tell you Thatcherism and
wow.
the key word there is they're conservatives, which are traditionalists, and you, Jorjani, even though you don't think you're a traditionalist because you're all space and polytheists and all this, you're actually
it's pretty sort of Brexit-y.
Yeah, you're a cosmic Brexit.
Space Brexit.
Jorjani is a cosmic Brexit.
But the thing is, we all know that like fascism is not sustainable. So
Yeah, exactly.
If you're a part of a society that's managed to sustain its life to the point that you can actually do interstellar travel, then you're probably not going to be. You're going to.
Yeah, Jorjani.
You're not going to be a fascist, are you? Because how do you? One of the I've been saying this. I think we were talking about this the other day. I don't know. People just hating each other is probably one of the biggest risks to the human race.
And Jorjani seems to hate a lot of people.
Just sort of like not
he
not
can justify mass
slaughters
and
just thinking about their egos is probably one of the biggest risks to the human species. So I don't know. It just seems a bit weird that we kind of. I guess this kind of stuff reminds me of when you watch an advert for the military and it's all this like cool plane, like sure, and I see a few like usually blokes responding to it like, oh yeah, this recruitment video is getting me interested and other things, but like it's based on bloodshed, so it just it feels the same thing as like if you're kind of like that thing that you were saying that Cassavetes says of like not putting violence in your own movies because you don't encounter seeing someone being shot in the face.
Because he wants to reflect reality.
And most people shouldn't be seeing people being shot in the face because that implies that the society that they inhabit is not working. If you are seeing people being shot in the face all the time, then that means that you're within a real problem. So I think that like these ideas of like it's just a little bit concerning that the kind of current sort of like science fiction ideas that represent the point that we're at when there is this conversation about whether or not there are people visiting, the current ones are all based on like trying to extend the military into like the infinite void, which seems crazy, doesn't it? Is that your real sort of utopian vision that you want? Is like, I mean, how do you know? As well, I mean, how could you possibly know about space wars and all that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Jorjani brands himself as Satanist, and he's one of these people who seems to have thought that Anton LaVey was something more than a showman. Anton LaVey was a brilliant, wonderful showman, and a truly weird guy, and I think a brilliant guy. A brilliant organist, he could rock the Wurlitzer like nobody. But he was a showman, there weren't any tenets really to Anton LaVey's Satanism. It was a very
1960s
freak out happening, and you see this as like real tenets because Jorjani also is speaking out on his Twitter in support of some guy who's related to the UFO narrative who broke off from LaVey's Church of Satan because it was taking it a bit too seriously and set up some very questionable situation, and it all just I'm a bit sort of done in with this world where it suddenly seems to be okay to be far right. I mean,
and even sort of coming up with these kind of far right fictional narratives as well.
Yeah.
Which we all know how kind of I grew up on the Isle of Wight next door to David Icke,
and they're doing
they're doing
like far right interpretation of Greek myth and saying that is the nature of reality. This is not philosophy, Jason Jorjani. It's hackery. It's like first year A-level by a kid who's never read any philosophy, got the rough guide maybe, has played a lot of video games and spent a lot of time on their own looking at the internet. I bet you, Jorjani. Have you got an AI girlfriend?
I bet it's more
Have you now?
Kind of more first year person who's doing an elective module really and asks. I mean, I had to go through my entire undergrad with a lot of people asking me like if I'd read. Oh, so have you read Sartre?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah. Which bits? He's a good egg sort of thing. Like this. I mean, this like fascism of like, oh, Nietzsche. And it's sort of like, I haven't read like Nietzsche really from A to B, A to Z, because I have been reading other things. But I'm not gonna. But I know a lot about his, and I've read a lot of other stuff around it and so on. And I am not going to sit and kind of fetishize it, basically, because it's offensive. Like,
are you epistemologically speaking, Lottie, here?
It's all very sort of fetishistic, and like you can't. I don't know. It's not really a good way of approaching philosophy, is it? Like the kind of what is the actual main tenet of the entire thing is what the Oracle said about, and then Socrates went and said, well, the only thing I know is that I don't know everything. I don't know anything.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a
that's a good way of seeing things. That's a good position.
I want my philosophers with shaggy beards, actually, or I want my philosophers to look like Susan Sontag or something.
I want
Jorjani,
like a cave with sort of like psychosis, like me.
Yeah. Jorjani looks like a middle manager, right? He sort of takes on middle management chic, and his shirts are all a little too small, and his suits are all a little too small, which may be to do with his diet, maybe, as he's got richer from appealing to young teenage right-wing leaning boys. And like, is there a single female on the planet who thinks Jason Jorjani has anything good to say? I think he's very much about male over female supremacy as well. Maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe.
It seems to appeal to men, and a lot of
I'm being careful not to say anything libelous, because he did say. No, we're not editing it. Jorjani did say that he was being terribly defamed by being called a traditionalist by someone. How dare you! Pistols at dawn! I slap you on the face with my handkerchief and my glove!
I don't know, I just think
it's go out trotting across the moor with his pistol and his wobbly bottom.
I'm just a little bit worried, because like, the fact is, like, we've got really powerful telescopes, we've got the James Webb telescope. The chances are there's a better civilization than our one out there observing this planet with a big powerful telescope. And you can see all the heat and the border disputes from space. So I suspect that there's probably at least one person observing out there going, dear.
And everything you're talking about projecting onto the cosmos is like petty human nonsense. Yes.
Nonsense.
So Jason Jorjani, you need to do something different.
This is what everybody seems to be doing, and like kind of
try making music.
I just find I don't know. I find it deeply shocking that, like, whenever any conversations about the possibility of not being completely alone in the void, which of course we're not. Whenever that comes up, it provokes a lot of fear in people. But it's kind of like, well, aren't you like desperate for it, because otherwise we're all gonna die? So, I mean, what, the alternative is better, is it? Well, really, it's going so well. This entire sort of mentality about David Icke and all this other. I mean, is that what it is? Is he trying to become the new David Icke guy?
Well, he wants to be like a guru for incel boys.
Sort of lizardy, kind of pretty questionable ethical undercurrent thing. Is that what it is? Is it kind of like 2025 Icke?
Yeah, Icke 2025.
And sort of, where have you got all this proof that like everyone's a lizard? Have you ever met an alien? Have you ever met anyone from space?
I've met people who are like related to the royal family. They're not lizards.
They're
nice. I know some nice people who are related to the royal family. They're cool people.
Kind of quite alternative art scenes in this country. Like, actually, I will say that of some of the people I've met, they actually have had more class awareness than a lot of the so-called normal people that I know. So,
Jason Jorjani, Promethean Man, Space Margaret Thatcher, hatching a plan, Gonna appeal to the incels. Be their guru boy. Jason Jorjani, Space Thatcher, will you be my boy? Will you be my boy?
It's just kind of like, it's a little sort of depressing that like all the kind of, you know, I grew up through the 90s, and for me the idea of like the conspiracy theorist was like, you know, the lone gunman and the X-Files.
Yeah, when did conspiracy
like,
theorists start being right wing? I thought that they were
I
all
thought they were
like,
supposed to be like, yeah, the government's trying to do what? And like they like, you know, I used to work, like he had all the cardiacs t-shirts and stuff. I thought it was this, you know, sort of like punk and like. I can't.
And now they're all like Jason Jorjani, Promethean man, got his nice suit on the Jesse Michael show. He quite likes the Nazis, thinks they had some good ideas. And Jason Jorjani,
I think you need to like point out specifically which bit he said about the Nazis.
he said loads of things about the Nazis.
Libelous thing.
No, this is not libelous. I Jason Jorjani, right? Listen, Jason Jorjani. I'm autistic.
Saying some of them were futurists.
I'm
really
autistic.
I thought it was quite.
So sometimes I can't get the facts right. But he did say, yeah, some of the Nazis were futurists, right? And I'm a futurist.
Yeah.
And right, okay, Jason Jorjani. Jason Jorjani. Guess what? All the Nazis were bad. Guess what? Jason Jorjani.
I'm very confused now.
No such thing as a good Nazi.
No, really.
A good Nazi. Jason Jorjani. Better get offline. Lay off the mixed grills. And expensive wine. Jason Jorjani, Promethean man. Jason Jorjani, Promethean man. Jason Jorjani, Promethean man. I'm gonna do the best I can now. I'm gonna do the best I can now. Jason Jorjani, Promethean man, do the best I can.
I think I'm also slightly disturbed about these kind of like these like readings of Nietzsche that are quite reminiscent of like the fairly problematic readings of Nietzsche.
Yeah, they're quite reminiscent of a certain little mustachioed
Like I said, I'm not
buffoon's readings of Nietzsche.
I'm in no means a Nietzsche scholar, although I've got a really nice mnemonic for his name, which is Nietzsche is exhausted. The zymotic syphilis caught him eventually. I know about him and like about the context and about nihilism in general, and my main area of interest was existentialism and like Wittgenstein and stuff like that. And now it's other things, and like at one point I would like to really get to grips with Nietzsche. But I'm fairly sure that he wasn't advocating for what the very problematic reading of Nietzsche seems to suggest he was advocating for, because he really, you can take nihilism as, I mean, this is the weird thing, is like nihilism's on the prevent list now for the prevent program, and I'm not entirely sure what the conception of nihilism is that they're talking, because for me, when I was doing undergrad, I was given the impression that nihilism had this kind of like active aspect and this passive aspect. So you could either say, oh, there's no meaning, blah, and then use that to kind of go in on yourself and like depression and that, But then I think the idea that Nietzsche was putting forward was for this kind of like active participant. Now that there is no meaning or anything, and there's no boundaries, you can smash through pre-existing boundaries and create your own value system. And he was quite...
Jason Jorjani.
Was it that he read a lot of... Or did he actually read... There's a lot of crossover with some aspects of some of the Zen stuff, which again I don't really know much about, but you've read quite a lot, but I've read a little bit of it, and I think I get the impression that, like, when I found nihilism, it really helped me, because it was kind of looking at the big sort of nothing and the big kind of like existential fear that you get and everything, and then realising, oh, hang on a minute, I can do what I want. I can create my own value system, and it's a value system, not a kind of thing of running around smashing stuff up. That's not nihilism. That's not a value system. That's an orgiastic thing. Like when people are talking about like nihilism being random violence and stuff like that, that's not a value system. That's an orgiastic state of violence. A real nihilist response would be somebody like John Waters or Divine would be that, of like seizing what
Jason Jorjani
living completely authentically, and or I don't know, Mozart, for instance, like Mozart.
Yeah, Mozart, like, Jason Jorjani.
Sort of, but then as well, like a lot of. I mean, he said that you can't be a philosopher and be religious, but anyway, I think that the nihilism needs to sort of steer more towards kind of, I don't know, who's a good example of someone who's like really goes for it? The writer's room in the recent adaptation of Stephen King's Under the Dome. There you go.
Yeah, that's
really
go for it.
That's a proper sort of like Nietzschean response, you know.
Jason Jorjani.
Who else? Let me think.
Watch Under the Dome.
The Fall. Like.
You'll really like it. Especially by season 2 and 3 when it gets whacked out. What was that other thing you just said?
I said, like, The Fall. You know, the constantly shifting Fall lineup is a good...
If it's me and your gran, it's The Fall.
Like, you know, it's...
If it's me and your gran, it's The Fall.
I kind of always interpreted nihilism to mean living, like, completely eccentrically and weird and doing whatever you want.
Yeah, not Jason Jorjani. Not Jason Jorjani.
Going out
being
and doing performance art in the street.
A penis!
Oh, wow.
Jason Jorjani.
Let's think of some other nihilistic people.
Don't be a penis.
Who would do what I would... I mean, I think this is right, isn't it? I mean, I am female, so I'm going to just doubt myself here for a second and then double check. Okay, I don't know why I doubted myself at all in that. Sometimes I forget my name because I've been gaslit so much, but you know, there you go. You have to but that's it as well. It's like it's a constant having to strive to live in this particular way because it's a lot of other kind of social.
Jason Jorjani. Jason Jorjani. Take up watercolors or something else. Jason Jorjani. Take up watercolors, you'll feel better. Take up painting the natural world. Jason Jorjani. We mean you no harm, we just love you. We mean you no harm, we just love you. Jason Jorjani.
I mean, you know, you don't have to be afraid.
You don't have to be afraid. Jason Jorjani. They love you. Our alien overlords love you. They come in peace, and they're gonna put their loving arms around you and cradle you and kiss you, Jason Jorjani.
It's not a big trick.
No.
Like, the problem is
have fun, Jason
Jorjani has
Jorjani.
gotten to the point where it's pathologically insane, and somebody's got to come down and say, no, you've been a very naughty boy.
Yeah.
Slash everyone else is mainly men, isn't it? Like really, like.
And they're all going to get smack bottoms, and because of some of the stuff you've been proposing,
you've been a naughty boy, really, isn't it? Globally, so maybe
you've been proposing some dodgy stuff, Jason Jorjani. So those manted overloads probably going to give you
I would also say that
pink
I
buttocks.
wonder, like, you know, my kind of like vague sort of musings that may be fictional or could be kind of speculative science fiction which is actually realism. I often wonder about the concept of various abduction scenarios where people describe invasive medical procedures and wonder if it's actually a case of a sort of psychic surgery to try to persuade them to stop feasting on the tortured abducted corpses of other species babies.
And all of my opinions stated here the last half hour, and in everything I've ever said, represent just my opinions and not the opinions of Sound Out Radio or even Lottie. You can blame me for my opinions. But I just want to ask one more question about Jason Jorjani. Since Jason Jorjani is more upset about being called a traditionalist than being called a Nazi, then I would like to know, before we go to a song especially for Jason Jorjani,
especially for you,
I would like to know, that's what we'll play, Jason and Kylie.
Together,
Jason Jorjani and Kylie Minogue.
I wanna show you.
My heart is so true. So Jason Jorjani, I want to know, if you're like more offended than being called a traditionalist than a Nazi, are you more offended being called a traditionalist or a wobble bottom?
Wibbly wobbly woo, Jim Jam Jelly, wibbly wobbly woo.
Especially for you, I wanna let you know what I was going